Hello friends, today we would like to discuss Pakistan's predicament as a friend, as a partner, as an ally of both China and the United States. Whether this is a problem, this is an opportunity, or this is bane or boon, just because we have heard a lot of conversation not only by the American officials, State Department officials, as well as leaders in the past who have not been very favorable as far as China-Pakistan economic corridor is concerned, and also by the Chinese officials who have been basically voicing concerns about the high-handedness, reported or apparent high-handedness of the Americans, and that the Americans want to steer Pakistan away from China in a way that its dependence on China comes down, reduces, particularly. I think there seems to be also an attempt, or seem to be an attempt, to slow down CPEC. We don't know whether it slowed down or not. But to get an answer on the basic question as to whether Pakistan is sandwiched between the United States and China's growing rivalry, and whether Pakistan as a state which itself is facing a number of problems right now, will be able to maintain a balance between the two strategic rivals, that is the United States and China. For that, we have with us Ambassador Ashraf Jehangir Qazi Saab, who has spent lots of years in both countries. So thank you very much, Ambassador. So the basic question is whether Pakistan can really maintain a balance in its relations with the United States and China.
Well, thank you very much. That's a very important subject. Our Foreign Minister has said that Pakistan doesn't believe in bloc politics, and we want to maintain an independent foreign policy, and that in principle is correct. That's very good. But the fact of the matter is that America is not interested in Pakistan, is not interested in having Pakistan maintain a balance. America regards India as regards China as a rival, and according to its national security estimates and all, it's also listed as an enemy along with Russia. So America regards China as at least a rival, and it is also made absolutely clear that it is not interested in having a balanced relationship between Pakistan and India, that it regards India as a de facto non-NATO ally, and will make available to it military technology and military assistance on that basis. So America has made it absolutely clear that its strategic partner in this part of the world is India, which is Pakistan's major rival. If not enemy. We shouldn't use the word enemy loosely, but unfortunately our relations have been that of an enemy for so long, and we should try and bring about a situation in which we can proceed towards a better relationship based on principles. And one of the principles is that upholding the right of self-determination for the people of Kashmir. So we will have a big problem with India for quite some time to come, until we are able to make progress there. Meanwhile, we have a very good relationship with America. America has been a very good friend of Pakistan. It has been a major provider of assistance to Pakistan and continues to be, and we appreciate that. But America has made it absolutely clear that it does not believe in any hyphenated relationship between India and Pakistan, and that India is its strategic partner here. And so it is absolutely essential for Pakistan to maintain its relationship with its major strategic partner, de facto partner and friend, and reliable time-tested friend, which is China. And so Pakistan cannot, much as it might want in principle to maintain a balance between America and China, America is simply not interested in a balanced relationship between Pakistan and India, and that denies us the possibility of having.
That's what I wanted to ask. That what is the difference between the Chinese policy toward Pakistan?
Exactly,
and
very
US
good.
policy?
China has always said America is a bigger economy than China. America can give you things that we can't give you. We're not yet at that stage. We're still a developing country. So develop your relationship with America to the fullest extent possible. Our only expectation is that as a friend that you will not do anything unfriendly towards China. That's a fair expectation and all, and it places no objections, no limits. America, on the other hand, while in principle it says we have no objection to CPEC and you're developing your relations, in fact, they have sent on senior envoys to us from time to time, warning us of the consequences of getting too involved with China through CPEC, and have cited the example of Sri Lanka and Hambantota, and said Pakistan is going to be similarly caught in a debt trap as a result of Chinese loans, whereas in fact the debt trap that we are caught in is largely as a result of our IMF programs. And I don't blame the IMF also here, because we haven't implemented the policies that were recommended by the IMF. But the IMF has been fully aware of this, you see, and has in the past, we were a one tranche country where after each year the 3-year tranche would be replaced by another tranche of 3 years, and which would fail after another year, and we would sort of keep going down in debt, which seemed to suit the US Treasury all right, because it made it easier for it to manipulate Pakistan's foreign policy, at least so we believe. America might not agree with that assessment and all, but the fact of the matter is that China, as you rightly implied, does not put any limits on Pakistan developing its relations with America. All it says is that we are your friend, we wish to be helpful towards Pakistan, and they are developing a presence in South Asia. Why? Because India has a hostile relationship with China. So through Pakistan, through CPEC, China is developing a strategic presence in South Asia, which is welcome to all the other SAARC countries other than India, in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and all the other countries, Maldives, welcome the development, the presence of China through Pakistan, and directly having an influence in South Asia, because no country wants to be dominated by a regional hegemon.
Mm-hmm. But this way, do you think Pakistan is facing a dilemma, is caught up in a quandary, because the perception that one comes across as being...
We should not be, but if as a result of our weakened situation, as a result in turn of our poor governance, we find ourselves unable to sort of resist the pressures of outside countries, then that's our fault, not the fault of the policy itself. Pakistan's attempt in principle to maintain a balance in its relationship with all the great powers is correct, is possible. The fact that you haven't managed to do it doesn't mean that your Kashmir policy was wrong, or your India policy was wrong, or your American. It merely means that your ability to maintain a balance because of your weakened leverage, as a result of the decline of your economy and the increase in your problems of governance, problems of all kinds, and etc. and all, and Pakistan's standing in the world, and even when you take a position which is legally correct, diplomatically realistic and all, you still don't get the kind of international support that it deserves, because your weight in the councils of the world is not as high as it once was. Pakistan was a 5th largest country in the world, largest Muslim country, nuclear weapons country, the only Muslim nuclear weapons country, and I remember the day when I used to be in Libya, and Gaddafi had come in, and Gaddafi called all the Arab ambassadors to have a talk with them, and Pakistan was invited, and one of the Arab countries objected, saying that Pakistan is not an Arab country, and Gaddafi had replied that Pakistan is more Arab than any of us, because I compare how it stood up to India in the 1965 compared to what happened to us in 1973. For all of these reasons and all, our standing was large, but we have unfortunately slipped since then. We need to recover in order to be able to develop the full potential of our foreign policy.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say, that until we develop the full potential, we face, or Pakistan faces, a quandary.
But you still don't compromise on principle.
That's fine, yeah. Don't compromise on the principle.
But you have to make adjustments. Yeah. You have to make adjustments. You have to be realistic. You have to look at the longer term, and you have to keep that in mind, and you have to move slowly. For instance, now our policy on Kashmir, right? Our options are much less today. Okay. Our options are much less, and we have to take that into account. Otherwise, we will just be knocking our head against a brick wall. and we will get no empathy or sympathy, even from friends. As you quite rightly said to me, that even China counsels wisdom and long-term perspective when approaching problems of principle, where they support us and all. They say, but you need to sort of be realistic in the way you move forward and all.
Yeah, but the notions that emanate from Washington at the moment in international politics, if you look at America's, its allies in Europe, it's like you are either with us or against us.
Unfortunately, yes.
So will this actually help in international trade and diplomacy?
No, it acts as a constraint on Pakistan. It's not fair, it's not right, but this is America's policy, particularly after 9/11. America has taken much more. Even before that, it had this attitude of you being with us or not with us and all. If you don't prioritize American strategic interests over your own national interests, no matter what we might say for the public and all, but in practice, your governing elites must recognize the primacy of U.S. strategic interests. If you want to retain U.S. favor and U.S. confidence and U.S. assistance and U.S. friendship on a consistent basis, then you must subordinate your own national interests at times to American strategic interests. Now, China makes no such demands on countries. The whole philosophy behind the BRI is totally different from that of NATO and America's. America's policy that global hegemony is all right for America because America represents the good. America is a morally superior country to any other country. Therefore, what America demands is actually good for itself and for the world. Now, no other country makes that claim today. Maybe Britain did it in its time of global hegemony, and France did it in its own sphere of influence while it maintained it. But today, the only global hegemon is America, and America tends to equate its foreign policy with moral values, which really in practice don't exist and all, but these are declaratory policies, and you have to abide by them. Otherwise, you are looked on with a degree of suspicion.
But the impression is, on the contrary, the way it is coming from Europe and from America, is that China is expanding its imperial, its capital colonialism under the Belt and Road Initiative.
That's the American narrative, but that American narrative is not accepted throughout the third world, throughout the developing world. China is a global economy because China is a huge country, 1.4 billion. India may be the biggest now in the world, but China, until yesterday, was the largest country in terms of population. China is the second largest economy in the world, and if you take it on a PPP basis, maybe America, it has become the number one economy in the world on a purchasing power parity basis, but on an international exchange rate basis, it is still number 2. It is the second biggest military power in the world. It is a global economy because it has resources. It needs resources from all over the world, from Latin America, from Australia, from various other places all over the world. So it has to develop a capacity to protect its sea lines of communications, which means it has to become a global military power also. It is not going to allow America to declare a zone from which China is excluded, like the Indian Ocean or the South China Sea or something of that sort. None of that will be permitted by China. And China, unlike Russia, has developed the capacity to protect its essential diplomatic, strategic, and defense security interests now. So this is a big problem for America right now. And so Pakistan is lucky enough to be a neighbor of such a successful country, such a wise country, and such a true friend of Pakistan, which is not constraining Pakistan's choices. All it requires of Pakistan is not to allow itself to be used against it by any other country, whether the US or anybody else. So that's a fair demand, and we respect it. And why is China popular amongst public opinion in Pakistan? Because of this reason, because people respect it, whereas America is regarded as a Chaudhry, a global Chaudhry. You see, so you may fear a Chaudhry, but you don't love a Chaudhry.
Okay. Thank you very much. Viewers, you just watched Ambassador Ashraf Jehangir Qazi's thesis, his thoughts on how the situation is evolving at the global front as a result of the competition or the rivalry between China and the United States, that how it can also work in a detrimental way to countries like Pakistan, but it's up to the host countries themselves to manage that relationship and to determine for themselves as to who is their best friend. Thank you very much.